Hello, how are you? Welcome to another week of my suffering. So, I'm not continuing the time series in this video, but I am going to start another fantasy series because apparently I just really like starting series. This is, I think, the Farseer Trilogy. I think it was Katie Reeds who said that this is part of like other books that Robin Hobb has written are like a part of this world, but this is like the first series in it. I don't think that characters and stuff are in those books. I think it's just like it's all happening in the same universe, which like I really love when books do that. I mean, I love the Grishaverse so much. This is a really old cover. This is literally so old. It's the spine. You see this? Shotty can bend because the spine's already messed up. You probably might have seen this in my haul, but this bookmark is really pretty. I got this whole series at Half Price Books, which, yes, the middle book is the wrong cover, but it's still, I have the series and it was there, so I'm going to buy it and read it. I can care about that later when I, want to have a really nice looking bookshelf, or if I really want the nice editions of these books. I'm 36, 37 pages into this. This guy is born to the prince of this kingdom, this would-be king, and he is a bastard. So his father ends up stepping away from the throne, and he kind of grows up in this barn and kind of fighting for himself. And then I think later he gets trained to be an assassin. Doesn't kind of just want him sitting around for like anybody to be used for. So now he wants to use it for himself by making him an assassin for the kingdom. This sounded very interesting. I didn't even realize it was the first within the whole series. I don't know how you're supposed to read it. Yes, I'm on a fantasy kick right now, but I'm also trying to finish A Memory Called Empire. The past 3 videos I have been mentioning wanting to finish this book. I'm at page 200. I am halfway through this book. Actually, I'm more than halfway. I'm 242 pages in. I've been very slow with reading Kindle Unlimited books because I usually only read them at night, and a lot of the times I'm at the gym, or I'm busy during the day and I can barely even read 100 pages or however many of these books, and then I'm trying to read that. It's a very interesting story. Basically, I'll summarize it so you don't have to look at the other videos. This girl who is coming to replace her old ambassador finds that he has died, and she has to figure out why he's dead, and she's also being threatened during this, and she's figuring out all the plans and different deals that he made while he was there, and she's having to figure this out while also seeming like she knows all of it. But she's also incredibly smart because people from her space station are regarded as like barbarians, so she plays into the naivety that they think that she has, and so she kind of throws them off a little bit and makes them think that she's really stupid, and so they tell her everything. It's not my favorite book that I've read on Kindle Unlimited, but again, only halfway through it, so can't really sit here and judge it solely off of that. This book is only 435 pages, so I think I can do that this week. I really think I'm gonna like this book and this series. I've heard amazing things about Robin Hobb's writing, so we'll see, how well she stands in it, but I very much like the type of setting that it's in right now, where it's set back in the day in a kingdom. Because of that, it kind of does have politics, and I find it very interesting. I also find assassin stories very interesting with dark, morally gray characters, which it feels like the main character Fitz is going to be. So I'm probably gonna love this, but let's not set our hopes too high, but they're kind of already up there. Anyways, yeah. See you tomorrow. Hello and welcome back to me looking like coconut. I have a reading update. I read to chapter 6 of Assassin's Apprentice, which is page 100 and I think 2, yeah. We're following Fit's perspective from when he was young, but he's kind of the one telling the story. We're getting it from his perspective later on, and he has like different things that he's forgotten or doesn't fully remember. So, some parts of it are not there, but it also makes for kind of unreliable narrator because it's from his past and there are things that he doesn't fully remember. And so it's kind of like, did this thing actually happen or did it not? He's now being trained to be an assassin. Wow. And so far, just like build up and explanation, kind of just like her explaining where he came from, where he was during this part of his life, just giving him this background before, she moves on to the other more intense stuff in his life, just so that you have more of an understanding of what they're doing. I mean, I personally like when a book kind of has the mystery of why somebody is doing it and you kind of have to figure out along the way. But this is very nice because it also explains the world along with it and the different people and what their positions are in this kingdom, whether, that be that they're royalty by blood or what they're called because they serve these people doing like taking care of animals or making their clothes and stuff. And it also just has like a very, as of right now, like fun adventure nature to it. It's also sad, because a child who isn't being taken care of like a royal is, really sad. I mean, so far the concept is really good, and I'm really, really hoping that it's well executed because otherwise I'm going to be sad. Because this series is so talked about, I didn't realize that this was like as old as this is. I don't know what year this was published. Nobody told me this was written in the 90s. Okay, so that makes a lot more sense why this type of cover and then why it got, there's so many different changes to it. That makes sense. I didn't realize that this was, wow. So this was coming out around the same time as Eye of the World, which makes sense. There are a lot of words in this that from Eye of the World, or I recognized are, those words are the same in like Eye of the World and stuff. This is probably very much inspired by a lot of the classic fantasy around that time. That's very interesting. I didn't know that. I do really love men written by women, especially morally gray men are just so good. The way that they write them, and just maybe it's a different perspective. So far, we only really have like male characters, and the female characters are kind of just like mentioned and not really like fleshed out or anything. He has like only male friends and only like men around him. So we'll see how her writing of women is, but I I doubt that it's gonna be bad. I'm really hoping that soon we get into more of his like teenage years or maybe like his first mission as an assassin, because right now we're kind of just following him in from when he was 6 to like now I think he's preteens. I mean, a lot has changed in that time, and I think that this explanation is probably going to be like lead into something, and also just getting to know the character and watching their growth and why they maybe think certain things will be very interesting. I will say the cover now makes sense. I was very confused for the first like 70 pages of this. I haven't read any of A Memory Called Empire. I'm going to try and read it tomorrow though, so yeah. See you tomorrow then. Welcome back to me looking even more like a 12-year-old. And you wanna know how dumb I've been? If you watch my channel, you know how stupid I am. I'm a dumb idiot. I thought that this was 480 as well. It's not. It's like 435 pages. I think the last time that I talked to you, I was still in like 100 something pages. or I had just reached 100 pages. I am now page 272. More than halfway done with this book. Let me tell you, I'm really hoping that the other books in this series are following him in present time, because this very much is just his future self retelling all of the stuff from his youth that helped make him who he was. And of course, it's important to the story. I don't think she would be writing it if it wasn't. See, whenever I come home from the gym and I film these, I feel like I've lost my mind. Like, I'm so tired and I've just lost my mind. He's aged. He's now like 14 years old. I think the last time we were here, he was maybe like 8 or 10. There's powers in this, apparently. It's called The Skill. And we're learning about that right now. I do very much love the storyline of somebody without a father and people becoming like their fatherly figures and stuff. I just love it. Burrick, I think is how you pronounce his name. It's absolutely not. He gives off like dad, whether or not he wants to. And I just love his character so much. So far, just kind of watching somebody grow up, and it's not at all what I thought that it was going to be when I heard assassins and a kid who was a bastard being raised up to do it. I thought it was going to be like him struggling with, it is him struggling with his identity and stuff, but it's not in the way that I thought was going to happen, where he's like wants to kill the king and stuff, and like, there's also these pirates who are just horrible people, and it very much involves the politics of like the royal line, the ascension, and that's very interesting. I feel like I can better elaborate on this when I'm not so freaking tired. It just definitely caught my interest. I don't know if it's going to be following this type of perspective for the rest of the books. I kind of hope that it doesn't. It's not my favorite of just kind of the character being older and retelling it. I'm kind of hoping that in the second book, The Royal Assassin, that it will be just kind of him. We get to learn stuff with him and not just, be forced to learn the stuff that he already has. It's a very interesting story. It's a very weird story. So far I like Robin Hobb's writing, but I like anything that's classic fantasy like this so far, at least. I haven't read a ton, so don't take me on my word for that. I'm gonna go to bed and try to make myself look less stupid. See you tomorrow, I guess. I have such a bad headache right now. It's like 11 o'clock at night. You wanna know what I finally did? I read A Memory Called Empire. I read to page 300, so tomorrow I only have to read 180 pages. And I read up until page, 380? Yeah, 380, which is chapter 21, which is Princess and the Assassin's Apprentice. It's very weird to have two separate genres and two very different authors and stories to have a similarity. Basically, in both of these, they get like a name chosen for them, or they pick their own name, and it's like a symbol of who they are, or like what they aspire to be and stuff, like what they work in. But their names correspond with either what they're going to do later in life, in The Assassin's Apprentice, and then in A Memory Called Empire, they pick it after they've gone through all of their trials and stuff, and it's like, a number, and then, what they aspire to be, or like whatever they think sounds cool or is poetic or has meaning to them. I don't know why, just when I was reading that, it was interesting, and my brain drew a comparison. Both of these have gotten very intense. And a lot of action has happened. Over 100 pages of Assassin's Apprentice. A lot has happened. We've been following him since he was 6. He's now, I think he's still 14. He might be older than that. Yeah, we're starting to now see him become an assassin and go through these trials and go through kind of the experience of what that's like. And it's very interesting to watch how he views doing that kind of stuff. And I think that it's a very good, well written story so far. Just, I was definitely right when I was saying that, you know, she's creating a morally great character, which I absolutely love. And then A Memory Called Empire, basically, if because I don't think I've mentioned it. I don't think I've mentioned it at all in this video. It has something called I can never pronounce it right, which is 15 years old. And the planet that she's on is on the brink of war. So we get to follow her through that. It's very interesting. I talk about how much I love like books with politics and stuff in them like that. It's very interesting. It's definitely not like I've been wanting to read Leviathan Wakes. Like I've been wanting to get served like that type of fantasy or not fantasy, sci-fi. I'm tired. I've been wanting to read that and it's good, but it's definitely like I don't know why I just like have been searching more for space travel instead of just like staying on a planet. I mean, this has been a good book this week. I'll definitely wrap this up tomorrow. And tell you whether or not I think this book is worth reading. To be warned, The Assassin's Apprentice has a lot of animal death, which I was not expecting. You know, when you read Assassin, you think, oh, people are gonna die. No, Shy is just killing animals. It makes me so sad. Like, why do you have to do that to them? We're exploring more of the power, the skill, which I find incredibly interesting. There's like every fantasy book that I've read has something like that, and like I don't get me wrong, I like magic and stuff in a world, but I kind of was just hoping for like a just like no magic and assassin like that type of thing. But I mean, I'm okay with it. It's not like changing my opinion on it. You know, like when somebody like they've never practiced the superpower their entire life and they go up against somebody who has for their entire life and they somehow beat them, and it's like they reach deep within themselves. This hasn't done that, and I very much appreciate that. Anyways, I'm tired. I want to go to sleep. I finally read A Memory Called Empire, so, you know, cheer me on. Yeah, so I'm going to finish the last 50 pages that I have of Assassin's Apprentice and try to read the last 180 of A Memory Called Empire. Bye. I'm not going to finish A Memory Called Empire this week, and I'm really sorry about that. I started it on August 21st and have yet to finish it. I don't know. I guess it's not as intriguing to me as I thought that it was, because I keep being like, no, it's actually really interesting. And it is, but it obviously not that much because I'm not sitting down to read 180 pages within a day of it. Onto the book that I did finish. So I rated Assassin's Apprentice, which is the first book in the Farseer Trilogy written by Robin Hobb. I rated this a 4-star because this is just so... The ending is so good. It's so good. I very much understand the hype now. I'm curious as to why people absolutely adored this book, because for not just this book but this series in general. And now, since I read the ending of it, it was really good. I wish that there was more of that littered throughout the book. I definitely think that it feels kind of like how a prequel feels in a book, you know, kind of to give more backstory to like a morally gray character. I think that this is probably just like setup for the second book. I don't know if it actually is or not. The way that it ends, it definitely leaves for a sequel. I don't know if this was written to be like a trilogy or if it was, you know, I don't know. I will say the ending leaves off in the perfect way where it's not a cliffhanger, but it can still work into having a second book. This was written in the 90s, and I can tell because a lot of fantasy books are written kind of the same so far as the ones I've read from the 90s. All kind of have this similar type of style. I don't really know if I ever told The ending is very like chaotic, and it doesn't end in the way that like you think it would, or is like the most satisfying way for it to end. It leaves more to be said, and it's also kind of a frustrating ending because you expect for things to go solely right for the main character in this book and for all of these things to happen and go exactly their way, but when it doesn't, it's very frustrating. It does set up a interesting character dilemma for the second book, and I mean, I think that this is, since this edition at least that I have is like 435 so far. I haven't read the rest of the series, obviously. I think that this is a pretty decent series to start with to getting into fantasy. It's not like super like heavy fantasy where there's tons of world building, deals with like super dark things. It does definitely have some dark topics. There's animal death in this, and there's abuse. But yeah, be warned about that. But otherwise, it's not really like as devastating as some other fantasies can be, or as like much of like a project to read as other fantasy books might be. And I'm excited to read the rest of this series. The ending definitely had me hooked, and it's been a minute since I've been like wanting to finish a book that I've been reading. I've kind of just been like reading them and being like, oh yeah, that was okay. But with this, I was kind of right towards the end. When I was on page, I think like 370 or something, I was just like, I want to keep reading this, but I had a headache, so I did not. This is a very good beginning to a series. If you like found family, if you like assassins, if you like more like gray characters and like royalty and politics, I think that this is a great book. A memory called Empire. I'm on page 370 something. I'm not gonna hold myself to it, but I'm hoping I can finish it next week. And I've said this for 3 weeks in a row. Anyways, yeah. Thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe. And I will see you next week with the second book in the Farseer Trilogy. So, bye bye.